Today, we're going to talk about a material that's so revolutionary, some have called it a miracle. We're talking about a substance that's just a single atom thick, but it's stronger than steel, and it's on the verge of completely changing our world of technology.
I mean, that sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But what if I told you that the key to the next generation of computers was hiding inside something as simple as a pencil? You see, the lead in your pencil, it isn't actually lead, it's graphite. And a single atom-thin layer of that graphite is this amazing material called graphene.
All right, so let's get into it. To really get why graphene is such a massive deal, first you've got to understand the huge problem it was solving. See, for decades, our entire digital world has been built on just one material. And that material? Well, it was running out of road.
And that material is silicon. Every single computer chip, every smartphone, every gadget we use has gotten smaller and faster and more powerful because we've figured out how to shrink silicon components down to these incredible sizes. But we were getting really close to a fundamental physical limit. You just can't shrink them down forever. The entire industry was about to smack right into a wall, the absolute physical limit of silicon technology. So the race was on to find what was next. Scientists knew they needed these unbelievably thin metallic films. We're talking just a few atoms thick to build the next wave of super small, super fast electronics. But there was this huge problem. At that tiny, tiny scale, the films would just fall apart. They weren't stable. The actual scientific paper we're looking at calls this an insurmountable obstacle. Progress had pretty much ground to a halt. And that's when our hero finally enters the story. The solution, it turns out, was a material that, according to pretty much all scientific thinking of the time, shouldn't even be able to exist in the way they needed it to. Meet graphene. So what is it? It's a single flat layer of carbon atoms, all arranged in this perfect honeycomb pattern. You can almost picture it like atomic scale chicken wire. It's the fundamental building block of graphite, but actually getting a single, stable sheet of it all by itself, yeah, that was thought to be impossible. And this is where the story gets really wild. This quote is from the actual 2004 paper that changed everything, and it just shows you how impossible this seemed. The consensus was that flat graphene just couldn't exist on its own. The theory was that if you ever got a single layer, it would instantly crumple up or roll into other shapes, like little tubes or balls. A flat, stable sheet was basically a scientific fantasy.
So how in the world did scientists finally get their hands on this impossible material? Well, the answer wasn't found in some billion-dollar lab with crazy complex machines. Nope. It was found with something you've probably got sitting in a drawer right now. The fancy scientific name for it is mechanical exfoliation, which really just means peeling. And the high-tech tool they used to do it? Just regular Scotch tape. I'm not making this up. Two scientists, Andrei Geim and Konstantin Novoselov, literally used sticky tape to peel thinner and thinner layers off a chunk of graphite, over and over, until they managed to isolate a layer that was unbelievably just one single atom thick. And this is it. This image, right from the paper, is what one of those flakes looks like under an atomic force microscope. You are looking at the thinnest, strongest material ever discovered by humanity. It's so thin, it's basically two-dimensional. But there it is, perfectly stable and ready to go.
And they didn't just stare at it. They put it to work right away. This diagram, also from the paper, shows them building a working transistor directly on top of that single atomic layer so they could test its properties. They were about to find out if this impossible material was also a miracle material. And what they found was just extraordinary. Graphene wasn't just stable. It had this whole set of unique electronic abilities, things that scientists had never really seen before in one material. The biggest discovery was something called a strong ampopolar electric field effect. Now, I know that sounds really complex, but what it boils down to is that graphene is kind of an electronic chameleon. Okay, so here's what that means. Most materials that conduct electricity use either negative charges, electrons, or positive holes. You can think of holes as little bubbles of positive charge. Graphene is special because it can use both. By just flipping a voltage, you can tell it to carry a current using either negative charges or positive charges. It's like a two-in-one conductor, which gives engineers a level of control they'd only dreamed of.
And then there's the speed. This number, 10,000, represents its electron mobility. In simple terms, that's how fast electrons can just zip through it. And to put that in perspective, it's way, way faster than silicon. Electrons can fly through graphene with almost no resistance, which opens the door for unimaginably fast computers.
So let's just recap for a second. A material scientists were convinced was impossible, was isolated with Scotch tape, and it turned out to have actual superpowers. This discovery wasn't just some neat little footnote in a science journal. It was the key that could unlock a whole new era of technology. The paper itself basically lays out this incredible future powered by graphene. You've got ballistic transport. That's where electrons flow like bullets with almost no resistance, meaning much more efficient electronics. You have its ultimate scalability, which means we can blow right past that silicon wall and build devices on a true nanometer scale. It can handle these huge electrical currents without breaking a sweat. The researchers themselves said that graphene might just be the best possible metal for metallic transistor applications. So the simple act of peeling a piece of graphite with tape won a Nobel Prize and kicked open the door to a new technological future. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other world-changing materials are hiding all around us, just waiting for a curious mind and a simple, brilliant idea to bring them into the light?